that was a tough one. He had to get back to Arizona pretty quickly after the season. I was going to try to get a sit down with him before, but
Let's be honest, you knew this was coming. You felt it in your chest the second the puck dropped this season. The Maple Leafs said the right things. New energy, new habits, new voices. But the ice never lies. The scoreboard never lies.
Edward Belmar, who came over from Colorado in the offseason.
And right now, it reads like a slow-motion car alarm. 8 wins, 9 losses, 2 overtime losses, 18 points. 7th in the Atlantic. 5 straight losses. 1 win in the last 5 on the road.
Here's a chance. Scores. Gets it. Spencer.
Tell me that doesn't feel familiar. Tell me you didn't see the pattern form like frost on a window. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The Maple Leafs will fail again. Not because of one bad bounce, not because of one penalty, not because the hockey gods woke up grumpy. They will fail because the problems are structural, because the identity is fog, because the fixes are cosmetic, because the same mistakes got new coats of paint. You want drama? You want tension? Fine, let's walk the catwalk of mistakes, and let's ask the only questions that matter. Ready to feel your heart rate spike like it's Game 7 warm-ups? Good. Buckle up. The ghost of the Core 4. For 9 years, Toronto sold you a dream. 4 stars, 1 parade. You never clicked when it mattered. 5 first-round exits with that nucleus. Then the Montreal collapse in 2021. That was the flashing red light. That was the fork in the road. Move 1, move 2, change the shape. They did not. They waited. They hoped. They asked the same core to pass the same test with the same pen. Then the ink ran again. So now people say the core is finally different. Marner is gone. Problem solved. Is it? Or did you pull out a load-bearing brick and realize it held up more than you admitted? The Mitch Marner hole you cannot patch. Let's talk about what left. 102 points last season, top 5 in league scoring, a playmaker who bends penalty killers, a top defensive forward who turns exits into entries and chaos into control, a first touch that calms a shift. Those things do not show on a highlight reel. They show in the places the broadcast camera forgets, in the soft chips, in the stick angles, in 2 steps that close a lane. Jeff O'Neill said it right. It feels like 3 Marners left. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you do not watch a Leafs penalty kill and see space where there used to be traffic. Quantity is not replacement. Nicholas Waugh, Dakota Joshua, Matthias Michelli, Michael Pezzetta. 4 bodies, 4 different toolkits, 4 decent ideas on paper. Together, they do not become one Marner. You cannot blend depth players into a star smoothie. You cannot crowdsource deception. You cannot fake gravity. This is the same old front office impulse. Add volume. Hope the spreadsheet sings. Then wonder why the chorus never hits the high note. Be honest. When you saw the announcement flurry, did you really think the problem was third-line charisma? Or did you whisper the obvious? We swapped oxygen for furniture. The trade mirage. Brad Treliving loves activity. Phones hum, rumors swirl, the board looks busy. But how many of those moves bent the arc of a season? Be real, the league knows the Leafs cannot trade their way out this time. The market smells it. Desperation discounts your leverage. You can shop half the roster and still fail if your shopping list is wrong. The Leafs keep buying tape for a cracked blade. This is not a hardware issue. This is form and function. This is philosophy. If you're asking the wrong question, the right trade does not exist. Systems slip, structure melts. Last year, the blue line looked like a grown-up unit. Not perfect, solid. You saw it. Angles were clean, risk was managed. The team finished 4th defensively in the East. Then, the floor caved. 72 against in 19. 14th defensively in the conference. That is not a wobble. That is collapse. You can say injuries, sure. Matthews, Tanev, Carlo, Stolars, important names. But injuries expose truth more than they create it. Remove one piece and a good system bends. A fragile system snaps. Did you watch shifts stretch to 90 seconds in the defensive zone? Did you feel the weight of those cycles in your shoulders? Coaching crosswires. Derek Lalonde takes the defensive book. The language changes. The reads change. Habits built last year get overwritten. You can see the confusion in the neutral zone. Gaps sag. Forwards drift too high. Defensemen retreat early. The first pass dies on the stick blade. That is not effort. That is a map problem. If 3 players choose 3 different routes, you do not get to the same city. You get turnovers that turn into 2-on-1s. You get fans who can lip read, "Here we go again," before the rush crosses the blue line. The net is a mirror. Anthony Stolarz looked like a late prime climber in 2024-25, .926 save percentage, .214 goals against average, strong starts, predictable shape. Toronto handed him the starter keys. The market pressure added weight, the workload added more. Now the numbers sag. 2-4-1, 3.31 GAA, .885 save percentage. Now this is not a pile-on. This is what happens when a team asks a good goalie to clean bad math. Joseph Woll is away. The safety net is gone. You can feel the panic on every broken play. You can feel the bench tighten when the second chance appears in the slot. Now be honest. When the puck pops loose in front, do you expect the save or the sigh? Special teams, special problems. The power play used to be the umbrella in a storm. Now it's a leaky roof. 12.5%. Bottom shelf. 24th in attempts. The puck dies on the half wall. The bumper goes quiet. The flank shooters stand still. The Marner effect is missing in ways you cannot replace with posters. He created time by stealing time. He lied with his eyes. He bent penalty killers into guessing wrong before they realized it. Without that puppeteer, the unit chases a perfect picture instead of ugly volume. Want a simple question? Where are the greasy rebounds? Where is the jam at the net front? Where is the second touch that breaks a box? Leadership or loitering? Craig Berube has been blunt. He is tired of it. He said it. You heard it. That is not coach theater. That is a man staring at his top unit and seeing 5 islands. Leadership is not quotes. It is pace when your lungs burn. It is structure when the crowd gets loud. It is shooting when the pass looks prettier. Do you see that on bad nights? Or do you see shoulders slumping and sticks pointing? You know the answer. This is an identity vacuum wrapped in expensive jerseys. Brand versus team. Toronto is the loudest building in the league when it goes right. It is also the heaviest when it goes wrong. The franchise markets stars, posters, commercials, nostalgia. The sweater sells itself. But identity is not a hashtag. It is what you repeat under stress. Retool or contend. Pick one. The Leafs keep walking the median and getting clipped by trucks in both directions. Do you want the most painful joke in the city? The biggest brand in hockey plays like a startup that fears shipping product. Is it a bad team or bad when it counts? Here is the riddle. Are the Leafs bad, or are they a good team that turns bad when the moment matters? It's both. The regular season flattens edges. Playoffs sharpen them. Toronto is built for round edges. Speed, talent, highlights. When the space shrinks and the whistles pocket, they do not have enough steel in the joints. When you need a third-line wall battle to free a puck, who's your grown man on demand? When you need a defensive pair to eat a 2-minute shift and like it, who smiles? Name them. Out loud. The clock in the room. You feel it. The organizational air is thin. The coach is not in the mood. The GM is boxed by the cap. The star center wants answers, not slogans. The room hears the city. The city hears the room. Every mistake sounds louder. Every loss tastes older. How many times can you sell patience to a market that knows the calendar by heart? This is not anger. This is fatigue. What has to change? You want a path out? It is not one move. It is not one speech. It is 4 pillars. Pillar 1, identity. Decide who you are. Puck pressure first or counterpunch first. Stop being both. Pick the hill and train for that hill. Pillar 2. Defensive standards. 5 men, short support, first pass on the tape or off the glass with purpose. Practice it until it looks boring. Boring wins in April. Pillar 3. Net clarity. The starter needs a true partner, not a shadow. Manage the workload. Protect the slot. Live with clean shots. Kill the east-west gift pile. Pillar 4. Special teams rewiring. Less pretty, more pucks. Change the entry. Attack the bumper. Live below the hash marks. Marner is not coming through that door. Build the thing for who you have, not who you miss. Will they do it? History says they prefer half measures. One more depth forward, one more 7th D, one more goalie waiver claim, one more hope that chemistry wakes up and chooses you. You know how that story ends. The calendar flips to May, the voice cracks in the post-game availability, the city goes quiet and then goes numb. The why they will fail again. Because the Leafs still think they can outscore gravity. Because the front office still confuses motion with progress. Because the room still relies on names to become muscle. Because the coaching staff is still teaching a new language while the schedule screams. Because they keep waiting for luck to love them more than they love structure. Because when it gets mean, they look polite. Do you disagree? Good. Point me to the evidence. Point me to the night on the road where they got hemmed in for 8 minutes and liked it. Point me to the game where the power play was ugly and ruthless for 60 minutes. Point me to a sequence where the top line cycled for a full shift with no showmanship, only violence on the walls. I'll wait. So will you. A little humor so you breathe. Can the Leafs turn it around? Sure. I can also finally fix my slap shot. We both know how those odds look. Maybe the power play wakes up and remembers it is allowed to shoot. Maybe Stolarz goes on a heater and starts swallowing pucks like laundry. Maybe the third line finds a pulse and a purpose on the same night. Maybe the road trip acts like a therapy retreat and not a haunted house. You can laugh. It helps. Final verdict. This season already feels like deja vu printed in bold. The record is a symptom. The road record is a tell. The special teams are a warning. The goaltending is a mirror. The identity is a shrug. Until that changes, the ending does not. Not because you do not care. You care too much. Not because the Stars are not talented. They are. Not because the coach cannot coach. He can. But the organism is confused. The heartbeat is irregular. The patterns repeat. So why will the Toronto Maple Leafs fail again? Because failure is the only thing this version of the team practices perfectly. Because they have not cut to the bone. Because they have not chosen a hard path and stayed on it when it hurts. Because they still believe the next pretty pass will heal everything. It will not. Prove this wrong, please. Shove this whole script into a furnace. Make me eat every sentence in April. I'll show up with salt and pepper and a smile. But until then, you know what the eyes see. You know what the numbers whisper. You know what the building sounds like when a 2-goal lead turns into a tie in 5 minutes. And one last question for you. When the Leafs skate out on the road for the next big test, do you feel hope in your ribs? Or do you feel the draft from a door you've watched close 100 times? Be honest, you already know the answer. And that is why they will fail again. Unless they decide to become someone else. Not in a quote, not in a tweet. On the ice, shift by shift. Boring, brutal, and real. Until then, the credits roll the same way. The city sighs the same way. The calendar turns, and the wait goes on.